the danger there would be, stagnant MSPs is that you have a small crack and it just widens over time, right? Unpatched external systems, they stay exposed. Networks, they kind of remain flat. I can go in more technical detail there why I said that, but there's just no best practices, being modernized per se. Backups drift into outdated states. Those are weaknesses that they don't hurt you day to day until the moment when something happens.
My guest today is Zack Aleksic, CTO and Principal Solutions Architect at Z7 Solutions. And since 2012, Z7 has built a reputation as a trusted IT services integrator for both the public and private sectors. They manage thousands of endpoints daily, deliver enterprise-grade cybersecurity, disaster recovery, and cloud solutions, and they've earned certifications from ISO, NIST, CMMC, HIPAA, and more. In short, Zack's team combines the resources of a large firm with the agility and responsiveness IT leaders actually need. And Zack has seen firsthand how the MSP model has gained a really bad reputation and why so many IT leaders feel trapped in partnerships that no longer serve them. That's why at Z7, he positions his team not just as another MSP, but as a turnkey solutions provider built around communication, accountability, and real outcomes. So in this conversation, we're going to cover the red flags that tell you it's time to move on from your MSP, why so many organizations stay stuck, and how to rethink what a true IT partner should look like. So let's get into it. Zack, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I've heard you
Pleasure
say that the hardest thing to change in IT isn't tools or staff, it's the MSP. And IT leaders know, if IT leaders know that the relationship isn't working, why do you think they stay stuck?
Well, I really think that there's a lot of, there's first factor is the fear factor, fear of transitioning. There's some, cost is sunk in there. Possibly the board fatigue. Vendors will get comfortable, right? And I would say that leaders they often they stay where they are, and then because there's disruption, it would feel scary for them, right? So that's the fear factor. And MSPs will take that advantage of that sometimes, right? With multi-year contracts are in place. There's a language there that that kind of delays that accountability. I think that a lot of issues is that when you stay with a wrong partner, it will slow down the modernization. Right? It will prevent critical security improvements. It can affect a lot of things, right? But the longer you stay in that position, you're getting the more of that technical debt, and I think that risk just kind of keeps piling up. And it's not really you want to switch to abandon your partner. It's all about reducing their risk, right? So I think that there's a lot of things that come in play there, right? One of the recent examples I've just heard from our CEO, she just returned from one of the events, and one of the comments from just an acquaintance on the event was that we just stayed in our contract this year because our CTO didn't have time to do a research, and he just kind of renewed, right? But we're not enjoying it, So you can take that, many different ways. Is that a real reason? I don't know, but I've heard that before, right? I've heard that,
and I've heard better the devil you know,
and
which is a crazy thing to say.
It's just unfortunate, but it happens a lot, and sometimes we just can't understand. And that's why the conversations are, they kind of reveal a lot of this stuff that I was just mentioning.
That makes sense. And, I've heard that. And like I'm saying, we've heard IT leaders say, better the devil you know. I don't know what else we will get. But the truth is, it's staying with a relationship that isn't working for you. It means you're just going to experience more of the same failures. It's like the same problems on auto renew when they renew. So even when they're unhappy, they keep renewing year after year. What do you think is driving that fear of making the switch? Like, what's the real risk of not making the switch?
Well, the danger there would be, stagnant MSPs. Is that you have a small crack and it just
Mhm.
widens over time, right? Um, Unpatched external systems, they stay exposed. Networks, they kind of remain flat. I can go in more technical detail there why I said that, but there's just no best practices, being modernized per se. Backups drift into like outdated states. Those are weaknesses that they don't hurt you day to day until the moment when something happens, and that's when you realize, hey, there's single point of failure that paralyzed our operations. And it seems like, okay, it's a minor neglect, but it's a multi-day outage. The revenue is lost, public impact. There's so many things, right? But um, and again, this is
Mhm.
this is the reality, right? This is happening all over. So we're just talking about things that actually, happen right now, and it's interesting enough because it's among the larger organizations, right? We work with, large, structured, compliant organizations, and even those organizations have these challenges. It's not just, a small to medium market, right? It's across the board, including, Fortune 100 firms. There's a phenomenal, talent in there, right? But then there's these relationships there, out there, and then what happens? Oh yeah, vendor risk. It has been overlooked, and then you have that
Mhm. Yeah.
unforeseen outages.
Yeah. So, what are the warning signs that an IT leader should look for? Like, what are the red flags that the relationship with an MSP is toxic?
Um, I think that I really think that the communication, and they're quiet. There's just things keep running, and just enough to avoid any kind of a noise, and there's no, how to say it, there's no
Hmm.
push the business forward mentality, right? It's if they haven't, you haven't recommended meaningful improvements, um, uh, they're not aligned to the modern, the modern threat, right? For example, if they don't understand your attack surface, and we talked about this in a previous conversation, and they, that's one of the examples, that cybersecurity side, but then, testing your backups, right? Immutability. Then it just kind of gets into the, ticket counts kind of goes up, and you have, it's just firefighting, and not solving the root causes, and then
Yeah.
engaging the leadership
Yeah.
in conversations. So you're not, you have this, gap, this silence, this, complacency factor,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I
all
mean,
that,
after
right?
we spoke, I did a little research and read some alarming statistics. CyberSmart reported this year that 84% of customers now expect their MSP to handle cyber as well. But not all MSPs will step up there. So if if an IT leader is expecting that and their provider doesn't have a fund set aside for that, I mean, that's really scary. Um, I think Computer Weekly just
Yeah.
published research showing that less than half of MSPs even have a ransomware fund set aside. So not only is there no communication, but they're not advising their customers, and chances are they're not even prepared themselves. That's really scary.
Yeah, that is really scary, and the complacency, that's like a slow,
Yeah.
erosion, right? And like I said, ecosystem
Hmm.
patching, monitoring gets reactive. Your backups stop being validated at some point, but nobody has caught up to it
Yeah.
because there hasn't been, nothing happened. So this is the thing, nothing happened. Just because nothing happened doesn't mean that you don't have to have these conversations and keep getting improvements in place. Advising your customer, hey, we can save money if we switch these, we're looking through Azure spending or something in the cloud, right? You know how Azure billing can be like, there's like just countless lines of things, right? So if you're not kind of, diving in there and okay, you're noticing your technical team will find things to improve. I guarantee there's no perfect
Yeah.
environment, right? There's always something to improve. So really, there's not a moment where you can say, "Oh yeah, we're the monitoring phase." I don't know what that means. Just monitor, and then some reports are coming out that are meaningless. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
cost of complacency
Yeah. I
involved.
mean, it sounds like it's really dangerous for the client. Um, yeah.
I would
So
say that.
I also heard you say, like when we last spoke, you said that if an MSP hasn't advised a single change in a year, that's also a red flag. So can you talk a little bit about what healthy communication and reporting really should look like?
Absolutely. I love this part because I get involved directly with just kind of briefing the leadership a lot. So this is something that it has to happen on a. I mean, I'm just saying at a minimum, right?
Mhm.
Quarterly risk reviews, right? In their business terms, 90-day backlogs with owners and dates. Um, uh, you have to have evidence of your control validations, pen tests, whatever recovery drills you're doing. So basically, healthy relationship is transparent and predictable, um, because the leadership will know what to expect. Everything is clearly defined, and this starts from the moment of engagement, right? So they can be bringing businesses just large reports and not a technical fog, right? You have to show real plans with priorities, with ownerships, with deadlines are important, right? Just like in any kind of best practices project management here. And I think that uh, you need to provide these proofs of validation of these tests or drills of access audits, conversations that like this, if they're missed, you're not managing risk. You're just maintaining that status quo, like right, just kind of breezing
Yeah.
in your complacent status, right? And everyone's too comfortable, and we all know that the comfort, being comfortable, is
Right.
not going to make that progress, right? With anything we do in our life, right? Not just what we're talking about. So if I'm too comfortable,
Yeah.
I'm not doing
Yeah. So
something right.
quarterly risk reviews is something that they should be looking for. Is there anything else? I mean, is there anything
Right.
that an IT leader could be asking for proactively if their MSP isn't, like, let's say they're stuck in a contract, they're not getting what they need, they're not getting these quarterly risk reviews. They can ask for that. Anything else that they should be proactively demanding from their MSP?
Well, if someone is your risk partner, right, that quarterly risk review means that we'll talk about we'll talk about those things like just not you're not going to go over, hey, we had 900 tickets, and so 600 has been resolved
Yeah.
and 300 is pending, and things like that, right? There will be more conversations, and things will be brought up to you in a sense of, okay, this is the, like I said, real plans with priority and ownership and deadlines. Provide, hey, can I have a proof of the latest attack surface reports, with some gap
Mm.
analysis, when was that done, right? Um, Validations, of when was the pen test done? What is the validation of that test, and what access audits have been performed? Have we done any kind of a lateral movement or any kind of a exercise drills or internal pen tests? There's so many things that are involved in this. The list is really comprehensive, and that's why there is a sometimes you as an organization, you're not talking just with the one department or one person. sometimes you have involvement with, like in our instance, I'll give you the
Yeah.
full example from the field because it's better. I'm not going to mention any names because due to NDAs, but let's say I'm talking to the information security lead and a CISO who is strictly really, compliance driven, security driven individuals, right? You have meetings with those teams and you're communicating with them. You're providing them these quarterly reports, monthly reports, whatever is agreed upon, right? And then you have a meeting with a development side because they're building a SaaS internally, and they need to, as you know,
Yeah.
just any kind of a SaaS, right? That also needs pen testing. That's web app pen testing, right? So or developing something in a DevSecOps, with clear frameworks, right? So you will have completely different business units to communicate. So there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of reporting. There's a lot of statuses and there's ongoing uh, uh, mini projects, whatever those initiatives are. So um, I think that really in a it's really easy to drop the ball on certain things and things to be missed, but in a nutshell, there's just a lot, there's just a lot of, like I said, a lot of different uh,
Yeah.
communication, strategies and communications that will happen. So it's really, it's a really, kind of, it'll be a longer
Yeah.
conversation, right, in more depth. But in a nutshell, that's how it happens, right? And there's just really a lot of this accountability, and the real partner, they will those things will result in, concerns will be found earlier, and then you have, hey, there's the evidence behind my recommendation. This is why, right? So you always have these facts to back up your claims because that's what leadership wants. Bottom line, risk, impact, and all that, right? You
Mhm.
package it all nicely in their language. If you're talking to security teams, security language. If you're talking to the web dev, the development teams, there's a little bit different conversation, right? And then you'll have your subject matter experts, of course, in your organization on the MSP side that will, lead these all these
Yeah.
initiatives
Yeah. I
respectively.
mean, I think
So,
this is the heart of it, right? IT leaders
hope that makes
don't
sense.
just hire MSPs for ticket resolution. Their security is the number one reason that they bring on an MSP. So if their provider isn't talking to them regularly about risk and posture, they're failing at the core reason that most leaders are hiring them for. So, for IT leaders who feel trapped, what are the practical steps they can take to evaluate their MSP and also to prepare for a switch?
That's a great question, and it does it does depend on the size of the organization and what's going on, how long they've been from business to business. But in kind of like
Hmm.
if I had to kind of summarize that, it is a little hard, but I'll try to explain that. So I think it has to the smartest way is to have control structure and quiet switch with if possible, all right, in a clean room environment where nothing will interfere. And then in some instances, depending on the, like it's again, depending on what's being done, we have to documenting every integration, every credential, every dependency, testing critical layers, identity endpoints, backups. The transition is, if I had to kind of like summarize this in a simple term, it would be that this is your health check
Hmm.
as well. At the same time, like imagine it as a health check because you're gonna have to dive in to everything because no healthy firm will
Hmm.
come in and just assume. Assumptions
Hmm.
lead to bad outcomes, right? And everything will be basically in my mind is like discovery. It's a lot of documentation, and it's not as hard as customers would think. In some instances, it is challenging, but people who are the right partners will make it easier for you as a leader, right? You will kind of feel that you're not really pressured and stressed. It's our job as technical providers, whoever is in this industry, to make you as a leader the best in what you do, not technology, because you wouldn't talk to us, we wouldn't have the conversation if you didn't need that assistance or help. But even in those teams that are transitioning, there's really documentation. There's really all the integrations that you have in the environments now. So hybrid cloud. There's all these different scenarios, right? So that's what it comes down to. Controlled and structured and approach. And of course, you will have to work with everybody, right? So uh, the other IT firm that is the incumbent, right? The person that's actually taking care of the environment is someone that you're going to have to work with. And this is just all, relationships and a mutual, interest that to help the customer, right? So we've done it many times, and it's really not as, I was really surprised, over the years, right? Because you think, oh my gosh, we're coming in, and now there's somebody in there, and it's not like, comfortable situation to have that conversation first time with another firm. But it's going to lead to something positive at the end. And what is it about? It's about what customer wants and needs. And I've really had great experiences. I've never had a really of course there's challenges. You're finding things out, right? Oh my gosh, there's that, and all these gaps, right? But it is on us to make that, to keep that in control, and to keep that transition as smooth as possible. And it's very possible, right? With a structured approach, good communication, and then just good discoveries.
Great. No, that's great feedback. And I think, this is where fear holds people back. So having that advice is critical to be able to prepare for a transition without disrupting operations. So yeah, thank you for that. And one of the things that I was curious about, because you mentioned you don't call Z7 an MSP, you call it a turnkey solutions provider. How is that different, and why does it matter for IT leaders?
I think I have a good answer for this. So why turnkey solutions provider is, this after, we when we started, right, we were from the moment of the founding, right, we were already in larger enterprise environments, and where compliance and controls are, really really matter. And when you come in somewhere with cleared engineers, and these are, when I say cleared, it can be clearances from the government side, or any other body that would provide that, contract vehicles, compliance alignment to critical infrastructure with public sector, right? And when you provide co-managed support and staff augmentation where needed. So the difference is, I think, the ownership of MSPs. When I hear the MSP, I'm thinking maintenance. That's just my point of view, right? So we always focused on, hey, what's the outcome? What is that outcome that needs to happen? And that's when I mean cleared engineers who understand, regulated, sensitive, high availability environments, proven contract vehicles, right? Compliance frameworks, and ability to scale, support the staff on a whim immediately. With a turnkey provider, I think you're buying more of a resilience, modernization. You have more accountability, right? Because there's a lot of big vendors and partners involved with integrators, right? And that's what matters, also. So the certifications, the trust badges that we put out, the contract vehicles that we kind of publish out, right? That's not for the core. That is just assurance. If the GSA lets you on a mass IT schedule, or native seaport, large contract vehicles, they vet organizations rigorously, and that's why not everyone's on there, right? So I think that's like perfect example is also, being ready for these audits, right? We just submitted a CMMC level 1 and level 2, assessments, and that, and we're ready for the audit at any given time. And that's what, that alone, is something that not everyone can achieve in, a 90-day or 100-day time period, if they have, if they have not gotten that as their routine. And basically it's like just like your lifestyle is to be, healthy, right? And this is the same thing. You have good hygiene, right? And of your infrastructure, and that, I think that's the main thing, getting someone, in a maintenance phases, just the kind of reactiveness. And okay, and I see this all the time. So that's just the reality. And customers have choice. There's a lot of great platforms like Technology Match, where they can, not select us, right? There's so many great firms out there. And I think that really, it comes down to, finding those that differentiate. It's just leading to healthier outcomes for a
Absolutely.
customer.
And, I do think that MSP model, I mean, at least what we're hearing from our IT leader community, it's really gotten a reputation for being reactive and overloaded. And I actually read a 2025 survey. I can't think of which one it was at the moment, but I recall it showed 60% of MSPs are in moderate to high burnout because of tool sprawl, complexity, all that kind of stuff. And that's a scary thought, because when your provider's burnt out, you're going to feel that. It's going to be slower response times and less proactive guidance, and, not as much care or intentionality. And I think that's why your turnkey approach matters, because it's integrated and it's so intentional. And I think there's so much to be said about that. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
I agree. I really think that, these that overall, and the all the customers that, we have conversations with. And again, I'm trying to, my brain is just kind of trying to see, the real case scenario, right? Because it's the best way to compare. But I think that, a lot of there's so many tools, Tanya. There's so many things now. Open LinkedIn, open Facebook, and I see 5, 6 new names
I
for
know it's endless.
cybersecurity, or, endpoint detection. And this is
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
overwhelming for customers, because now everyone's building something, right? There's so much building out. And I follow a lot of, venture capitalists, and new firms are coming up. It's our job, right? We follow a lot of these things. And I think it's so overwhelming. And because of the noise, it's really important for the leaders to eliminate the noise. Just focus on, just like 20 years ago, just get to the basics, and then, get uh, uh, try to really focus on finding, companies that have proven track record. What have you guys done? What are you doing now? How, the compliances, there's a lot of validation that goes, and that can be done by the by customers. And I think that's where these platform like Technology Match is really useful. And I'm not, and we didn't talk about this, and I'm going to mention this. So I'm just saying it because it's the reality. They need help, and this is where they need help, because you're coming on a platform, and
Yeah. They
everyone's
go
kind
through
of vetted there,
a
right? Everyone, there's
yes.
a community, right? And that's why I think it's really good. Talk to your peers, right? There's so many. Everyone goes to the event. There's so many events out there, right? So I think that really, once the customers find time, from all the noise, and of course just from doing their jobs, that's when they, it's really healthy to go into the game with someone proven, proven platform, who's going
Yeah.
to help you, find the right partner, right? Oh, that's really kind of, the risk
Yeah.
the risk
Yeah. Well,
reduction
thank you
right
for
there
that.
that can help.
That's exactly why we've built it, is to, and you're
Yeah,
right. The
absolutely.
partners, the providers go through a pretty rigorous vetting process. So, I appreciate that. So, Zack, for IT leaders listening
You're
right
welcome.
now who suspect they might be in a toxic MSP relationship, what's the very first step that you would tell them to make today or tomorrow, immediately?
First, a good cup of coffee and just, a team. And I think that the most important thing is that you can do a scorecard. It's a really easy practice. You will just take a listen to what we talked about in this short, conversation, because you'll be able to listen to the podcast, right? You can go back and forth, and that's the beauty of the podcast. So you can take a listen of these, flags that we were mentioning, right? And score, do a one-page MSP scorecard. If you see any of these mentioned categories, like maybe one or two, and then it's kind of, it gives you that kind of red, you just do green and red. If it's red in more than two, um, just it's time to start, some structured market check, right? Um, you can go to I think that they don't need a full program to start. They just need clarity, right? So one page MSP scorecard, it will force all those assumptions, right, and frustration into the open. That will kind of reveal all that. And I think that it's really important to get emotions out of the picture. If you have, because it's really easy to get comfortable. Again, we talked about this, so you already know these people that you're working with. They might be your friends at this point. I don't know what can happen, right? So I think that structured market check and will give you just kind of clear data, no emotions, and then
Yeah.
that's what the neutral assessments are for. Exactly, that's what they're for. So they'll give you something safe and controlled, some kind of a roadmap that's going to be this
Yeah.
no disruption roadmap, right? You really need to have a conversation, and it doesn't take too long, right? You can have, uh, you can just do what you can, just write down your challenges. This is why I like technology match.
Hmm.
You guys are good with challenges, right? You have so many of those challenges they're always addressed, right? So they can list their challenges and then really use that
Yeah.
as a starter for the conversation. But I think the neutral assessment, even if you're just hiring someone for a gap analysis, and then, hey, we're not looking to do anything, we just want a gap analysis, and you hire somebody just for that, and to help you really make that plan if you're uncertain what I'm talking about when it comes to a MSP scorecard. But I think it's clear, right? Just list,
Yeah.
we talked about so many things here, right? A
What do
good
you think
indicator,
about
right?
this? I'm throwing this out
Yeah.
there, but as soon as you said that they can go back and listen to the podcast and create a scorecard, my team can take this recording and create a co-branded scorecard with Z7 and Technology Match, and so we can create that asset. I can send it over to you to send to your clients as well, but we'll link it in the show notes so that it's already created for you. um,
That'd be great.
that's really helpful, and I
Yeah.
love that idea.
We definitely we can combine that with some of the like a question, we call them a PEQs,
Hmm.
pre-engagement questionnaires, and we can combine that with that, and I think it's going to be very
Yeah,
useful
yeah.
for a lot of
I love
listeners.
that. I love, we're always looking for ways that we
Yep.
can better serve our IT audience. So I love the idea of creating that together. Yeah, right here on the
Come up with things on
podcast.
the fly. I love it. Yeah, exactly. There
Yeah,
you go.
that's
It's
great.
good.
Well,
It's
thank you,
healthy.
Zack. I mean, that this has been hugely helpful. Like I said, this isn't a
Pleasure.
topic that we've covered on the podcast before, but it is definitely something that we hear from our IT community a lot. So I love that we're going to create a little asset
Yeah.
that will help our community, our listeners, evaluate their MSPs and evaluate,
Yeah.
what they need, be able to score their MSPs to see where the gaps are and if
Yeah.
it makes sense to move. Um, and I think if there really is one takeaway, it's that you don't have to stay stuck in a relationship that isn't serving your business. And the right IT partner
Yeah.
should communicate, advise, and help you move forward, not just show up at renewal time. So if you're ready to explore better options, head over to technologymatch.com and check out, if you just type in the search box, IT services and staff augmentation. You'll find vetted providers, including Z7. If you want to go directly to Z7, just type that in the search box or in the chat bot, and you'll get feedback on, all the resources that we have in there. Yeah.
Chatbot is smart.
Yeah. We like that one.
Yeah, it's a smart bot.
So yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
options to help you build a relationship that aligns with your needs and actually helps your organization thrive. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. And Zack, thank you so much for your insight. This has been so helpful, and I love that we're going to create a little tool for them to be able to evaluate where they are and if they need to make the switch.
Looking forward to that. Thank you so much for having me. I really
Until
appreciate
then,
it.
we'll see you next time.